All right, so I decided to shoot this video for anyone that is considering and thinking about selling on Etsy, a new seller. And the reason why is because YouTube and any other social platform out there is pretty much littered by all of these success stories from Etsy sellers. And let me tell you, yes, there are a lot of success stories out there, and there's a lot of people doing some really great stuff. I mean, heck, I even post stuff on this channel of our success on Etsy. And well, yeah, it's a pretty great platform. But the one thing I don't hear people talking about is the bad. What is it like once you start getting sales? Is it all rainbows and unicorns? No, there's actually some challenges that happen. And also there's a lot of things that go on before they're successful. So in this video, I'm going to cover 5 things that I wish that, well, someone told us. Now, it wouldn't have changed our mind. We still would have done it, but I do think that it can help you grow, but it also can prepare you for what's to come. So I'm going to share that in this video. Now, I am going to be sharing something at the end that actually we've never done and I don't recommend anyone doing, but it also is a trap for a lot of new sellers. So stick around for that. All right, so before we jump into the bad stuff, let me just remind you of all of the good stuff. Well, number 1, starting an Etsy business is super easy. Like, anyone can do it, and you can do it for almost $0. You can literally set up a shop and get a listing up, and it'll cost you like 20 cents. There's very low risk because we don't need physical inventory if we're doing print on demand or if we're doing digital products. 0 inventory, which is also really awesome. And you probably have heard, well, sales just come in while we sleep. And well, yeah, they actually do. So there is a lot of good things when selling on Etsy. But what I'm going to cover right now are the things that I want you to be aware of because they are going to happen once you start on Etsy. So let's dig in. Number 1 is, well, a lot of Etsy successful sellers go through a lot of trial and error. They are going to be trying new products or trying to find new products. And a lot of successful Etsy sellers, well, they launch a lot of products that don't do really good, but that's okay because they keep going. But the thing is, we need to understand is doing your research is very, very important. Now, I'm going to use us as an example because we do things a little bit differently. We go after a niche. We're not going after just products. We have a lot of content on this channel that helps you find your niche and find products, and I'll link all that stuff up in the description. Now, because my wife and I are a team, she does all of the creation and I do all of the product research. And I'll tell you, product research is probably the most important part because once I get that dialed in, then we know that we validated that there's demand for that product and the chances of that product selling are going to be dramatically higher. So when I give my wife an idea or a concept for a product type or a design even, she can kind of go and run with that because we've already done the validation. So doing your product research and your niche research is so important. And a lot of times people will skip over that. And actually there's a trap, like I said earlier, that I'm going to share with you at the end that people fall into. We don't want to do that. And I see a lot of new Etsy sellers making that mistake. We're going to help you with that. So stick around. So the big takeaway here is you want to spend time doing your research for product types that are already selling so we can validate that there's demand so we're not just launching products to launch products. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because most of the successful Etsy sellers have went through a period in the beginning where they didn't do that and they launched a lot of products that just didn't do good. So that's the part that's being left out that I want you to understand. It does take time, but it also takes good product research. All right, so number 2 of the things that a lot of successful Etsy sellers aren't talking about. And I'm primarily talking about the digital product sellers. And this is the deal. It's very attractive. It's very exciting to be able to create a digital product and then sell it. And the reason why is because there is zero friction as far as we don't need anything other than the digital file. And then the logistics are just download it. That's it. But now if you're doing print on demand, there's a little bit more logistics, right? We have to have a third party print our stuff and then ship our stuff. And that's where you can have some customer service issues. But with a download, if someone doesn't get their download, guess what you got to do? You got to send them an email with the download. So the one thing that these Etsy successful sellers are leaving out that are selling digital products are, well, the digital products, a lot of times, they take a lot of time and effort and potentially money to create these if you're going to hire a designer. Let's take a digital planner, for an example. Well, that takes a lot of creative skill and it takes a lot of effort to put that together. So it may take you 3 weeks, it might take you 3 months. And that's okay because we have a product now that we can sell forever and we have no inventory and we own it 100% completely. But imagine doing all that work and it doesn't work. So I just want you to be aware that yes, digital products are very, very hot right now, right? Like everyone wants to sell them, but understand that to create a good digital product that is good quality, that people are going to want to buy, it's going to require time and sometimes months. Also, if you're not designing the product because you aren't a designer and you don't want to design it and maybe you don't have the skills, you're going to hire someone. Well, now you have a cost associated with that. So we're going to invest in some upfront cost here so we can go ahead and get this thing created, but hopefully it will sell. And there's probably a lot of digital products out there that are on Etsy right now that cost money or time and they're not selling. So you have to understand that going into that not everything is going to work. All right, moving on to number 3. And this one here, I don't hear anyone talking about this, and I really think it needs to be addressed. I think it needs to be discussed, and that is this. You do need some type of design skill. Now, you can use tools out there. There's tools like Kittl. There is AI now. There's all of these things that can help us, but you still need some type of idea or some type of design skill. Now, it doesn't have to be where you're this graphic designer, but you do need some sense of design. But even if you're just selling a black and white t-shirt, sometimes the font has everything to do with that design. Now, there are some rare examples of maybe there's a certain saying that you can put on a t-shirt and people just buy it because of the saying. Yes, there are some cases where that could work, but in most cases, doing print on demand, it does come down to design. Yes, you can go in and use things like Canva or Kittl, and you can get a really good head start, but you still will want to learn about design and what looks good and what looks good in a certain niche, because sometimes style is everything or design for that niche. Now, in some cases, you may want to just hire someone to create that design, which we have actually done. We've actually went to Fiverr and we've hired artists that will go ahead and create designs for us. Now, that might just be a certain element in the design and then maybe you do the text of it. But what I don't hear people talking about that are successful on Etsy is that, well, it does take some design skills. And again, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying just because you can use Canva doesn't mean that you're going to create designs that people want to buy. So that's something that you're definitely going to want to learn. Now, on this channel, I am going to be creating some design tutorials. So stick around for those and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you can get notified when I release those, because there are some things that you can do to learn, but also apply and make it easier on yourself if you're not good at design. So yes, you will need to learn design, but you can do it. But I just wanted to let you know it is part of what makes people successful. All right, number 4, and that is once you start getting sales and you stop doing cartwheels and backflips and jumping jacks and high-fiving everyone you know, because that will happen, you're going to also see that there's customer support issues that are starting to come in. And now you're dealing with something that you never thought you would have to deal with, because all you're thinking at the time is, I want to create some really great products and I want to make sales. Yes. But what happens when people didn't get their order because, I don't know, maybe it didn't get shipped out on time, or maybe you never got the order, but you thought you did. And now you have to address that. So imagine having 20 orders per day. And let's say that 10 of those orders, you get someone that asks a question. That means you're going to have to answer those questions. Now, I'm not saying that it's not possible to handle that, because you can. My wife does it every single day, but you do have to allow time for that. And you also have to understand that, yes, this is a business where you can sell things overnight and in your sleep, and people will buy things, and it's great. But you also need to understand you're going to need to communicate with people, not just on problems, by the way, but on questions that they have on the items. If you're doing personalization, that takes it up another level. You will probably have to go back and forth with that customer and get some clarifications. It's totally normal, and it's totally worth it if you're charging enough. But I want you to understand, as a new Etsy seller, that once those sales start coming in, you are going to have customer support to deal with, and it's a critical part to being successful on Etsy. All right, and number 5 is one that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to hear it either. And that is, well, it just takes time. Unless you are super, super lucky and you hit one out of the park, your first product, and it goes viral or something like that, well, yeah, you're going to probably think this is an overnight success. But I will tell you this, and if you ask any of the Etsy successful sellers out there, they will most likely tell you it took a while to get that momentum going. Now, if you launched in fourth quarter, you might have had a little bit of an advantage. So depending on when you're watching this, well, if you're launching in fourth quarter, you probably will have a little bit of a bump in sales because there's more traffic there. But for the most part, it's going to take time, it's going to take being consistent, and it's probably going to require you to create a lot of different designs, a lot of different products. So this way here, you can have a lot of inventory so people can find you on various searches. So it takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes determination. If you really want this, if you really want to build an Etsy business, a successful one, and I say successful, your success might be $1,000 profit per month, and someone else's might be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Whatever it is to you, you need to make that decision, and then you need to be determined to make it work. And like I said at the beginning, I wanted to share with you one big mistake that I see a lot of new Etsy sellers making. And really, it's not their fault, because some of the so-called Etsy gurus out there, they basically say, just launch whatever's trending right now. It doesn't matter the niche. Just go ahead and launch a whole bunch of different products in a whole bunch of different trending topics or niches. It doesn't really matter. Now, if you've been watching any of my videos, then you probably know that that is not my method. My method is building a brand inside of a niche. And that's why I shot this video right here, that if I was to start over from scratch today, these are the 5 steps that I would follow. It'll walk you through exactly what that looks like. Watch that video next, and I'll see you there.